Here is the battle between my 1983 American Standard Plebe and my 2020 AquaSource Henshaw. The point of this video is not to prove that one of them is better than the other, and it is not to prove that one of them is worse than the other. The point of this video is to take the best toilet from the 1980s and the best toilet from the 2010s and see how they do together. So let's start off with my favorite, the American Standard Plebe. I have it set to 5/8 of an inch below the overflow top as the tank instructs, and that happens to be the bottom of the crack. The flapper is pretty much the same as the original, so the tests will be accurate to how it was when it was new. So let's give the Plebe a flush. I'm quite surprised by this flush. Usually the flapper closes before it siphons, and I especially like this one because the flush completes and then the flapper closes. So now let's look at the AquaSource Henshaw. I have it set to the water line, and it is using the original flapper. I would have the original fill valve in there, except it was acting dumb and not filling to the correct height, and I did not feel like adjusting it. So let's give the Henshaw a flush. Now let's go over here and see what I got in my bucket. I got some napkins, some paper, some dye, some masks. So since I know both of these can take one bag easily, let's try two. So first let's start off with the Plebe. I'm going to add some water to the bowl, and I'm going to put the bags as flat as I can get them next to each other. Looks like they didn't go through. I'm going to drain the rest of the water from the tank and see if that's enough to push them the rest of the way. This handle's really annoying. Well, I don't think it's going to take it. Come on now. There we go. Oh, it's still stuck down here. So that was not very successful. Let's try the Henshaw. This one's a little harder to lay them flat because it's got a lower water line than the Plebe. But this should do. Well, as you can see here, this thing disobeyed the Plebe. So, if it wasn't brand new and if it was broken, I'd probably punish it for that. But let's see if I can get that last bag to detach itself from the bottom. Alright, so it didn't quite take it. Alright, there, that was the bags. So, now let's try a dish towel down both of them. No, that's too easy. Let's try a dish towel in a grocery bag. This thing should have called in sick today. I've got 2 others. They probably would have put this to shame. Now let's try them in the Henshaw. Well, I'd say they did about the same on that. Equally awful. Now let's try some Wendy's napkins. I'm not quite sure how many this is, but I'll count them when I put them into the bowl. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, neither of these should have any trouble with this. And I put the rest of them in here just so I wouldn't have to count them again. But gotta add some water. And then just to be sure, 1, 2, 3, 4. So by the time the tank is finished filling on this, or I mean by the time I've done the test on this, the tank should be finished filling on that. So let's see how the Plebe does in 4 Wendy's napkins. Easy peasy Louisey. Now let's try the Henshaw. Same result. So let's add some water to the bowl and then let's try a dye test. Actually, let's try masks. I think they can both take dye, but I might as well try it anyway. So here are 4 face masks. This isn't some sort of political statement. These are just a good thing to flush down toilets. So here are 4 masks. Now when the tank is finished filling, I'll see if it can take them. Let's see how it did. Looks like it took all 4. Now let's try them in the Henshaw. And I'll put them in exactly the same position as I did the Plebe. So let's see how it does. I'd say the Plebe gets the win on that one. Plebe took him in 1, Henshaw took him in 1.5. So the win definitely goes to the Plebe. Let's add some water to the bowl and then do a good old-fashioned dye test. I'm gonna do blue and red, but first I gotta open this. I can't really do it one-handed, so I'll be right back. Oh, that accidentally did 2. Perfect pass. Now let's try the Henshaw. Sorry if I'm a little shaky, it's kind of cold out. I'm just going to spread this around. Also did perfectly. So let's try dirt. And don't mind the Toto Lloyd over here, it's just sulking under a blanket. So I'm going to stick the caps back on these dies and do a dirt test. So let's add some water to the bowl. I'm guessing the Plebe will take the win on this. Let's get that dye off the fill valve. So let's give it a flush. That bowl rinse is looking pretty good. It didn't do perfect, but it did awesome. It's not sticking to the sides. I think that's as good as I'm gonna get it. That's a little bit depressing. I don't know what you think, but I think that's a failure. And I believe this is like a bubble, so when I touch it, it's gonna pop. That's a little strange. No idea why I did that, but let's give it a second flush when the tank is full. So I guess they're both filling at the same time, so it's not as fast, but it's not going to be too much longer. As you can see, it's almost to the water line. Let's give it a second flush. It still left some. That's disappointing. It's really disappointing, but it's probably to be expected. I mean, that one's on 1.28 gallons, that one's on 3.5. So now let's try newspapers. These are like the full-size, big newspapers. I think this will probably clog them both. If the Henshaw fails it also, I'm just going to stir them up a little bit and rip them apart and try it again. The water line is so shallow, I'll have to just scoop water from the tank onto the paper to get it wet. Now let's see how it does. I mean, if the Plebe didn't take it, you can't really call it bad, because I mean the Plebe is the best. So let's rip it up a little bit. That should be good. Let's add some water to the bowl and see how it does. Clogged. Now let's try the Henshaw. That all ripped up, so it might have a chance. It's not your turn, be quiet. That's a pass. Let's try a Plebe again. It's not all the way full, but it's got a chance. Whatever. Bucket's empty. I think that's about it for the tests. Might as well try a dry bowl. So I'll be back when the bowls are dry and the Plebe decides to unclog itself. The bowls have been dried, so let's give these two one last flush each. Well, that concludes these tests. If you've made it this far, type hashtag #ObeyThePlebe in the comments. Except for modern stuff, I don't think he likes plebes very much. So if you're watching this, type whatever you want, and first one to do so will get their comment pinned. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe and turn on notifications. It helps my channel a lot and I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video.